Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this Sunday's rendition of Speak Your Mind. And I am Larry Cox, and I am grateful to have each and every one of you joining me this evening. And as you all know, it's our candidate interview series. And tonight we have the honor of having Judge Clarence Cuthbert with us this evening to talk about his run for Superior Court judge. Judge Cuthbert's been on the show several times when he has ran for other positions successfully. And we are looking forward to him being on the show again tonight so that you guys have a better understanding and get to know Judge Cuthbert a little better. And that's what this show is all about. This show is all about you, the audience, getting to interact and getting to know uh, these candidates a little better because it's hard to get to know candidates. You've got these forums, and sometimes the questions can be awkward, and then it's not everybody can make it to these things. So it's good to have people be able to come on shows like this, and they can just let their guard down a little bit and have open, sincere conversations with me and with you, the audience. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on the good judge right now. Hey, Judge, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening, Larry. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing well for this Sunday evening, Judge. And you know how it is. It's getting to be a busy cycle here for us. We're going to be real busy on the Board of Education here because we're getting ready. We're going through that process of we're going to hire a new school superintendent. So those applications have to be filled out by the 10th of May. So, and then about 2 weeks after that, we will get all those resumes that people have put in there, and then we'll go about the process of interviewing and hiring a new superintendent. So we're going to get really busy, and
Uh,
that's how that goes. But Judge, I'll tell you, why don't we get into the nitty gritty here? Why don't you introduce yourself, tell what you're running for, and just a brief history of you.
all right. Thank you, Larry. And I appreciate you having me on your show here tonight. My name is Clarence Cuthbert Jr., and I am a candidate for Superior Court Judge here in Rockdale County. I believe in a court that provides fair hearings, that a judge that listens to the evidence and makes decisions based on the evidence and the facts. And that's why I'm running on my experience, my judicial temperance, and my integrity. I've practiced law for more than 30 years. And as you said previously, I served as a probate judge and the chief state court judge here in Rockdale County. And I believe that my experience, judicial temperance, and integrity has prepared me to serve as your Superior Court judge here in Rockdale County. Are you there, Larry?
Judge, the button didn't want to work,
Okay.
so 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 I've had you on the show several times before.
Yeah.
And one of the things I know about you that a lot of people might not know about you is that you were a law enforcement officer for a decade, and that's a unique perspective for someone who sits on the bench to have. And I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that and tell everybody, a little bit about that experience, about that part of your life, and what you think it brings to you having that other people that are running for judge or are judges, they may not have that you would have by having that decade of experience as a law enforcement officer.
Absolutely, Larry. I started out working for the sheriff's department in the jail as a correctional officer. I worked in the jail for a few years, and then I became a street officer. I also worked in the as a school school police officer with the Board of Education, and I also served as a classroom instructor in law enforcement. I served as an instructor for private security agencies to obtain certification in the state of Georgia. And my last position, I also served as a drug agent for about 2 years. After serving as a drug agent, I was working on my master's degree and needed uh, a normal schedule, I would say. And so my last position was as a juvenile probation officer just prior to going to law school. I believe that all of those positions have prepared me to serve, not only to practice law for 20 years, but to serve as a judge, because I understand the cases from the criminal perspective, what is required to actually make a legal case to satisfy the probable cause requirements, also to ensure that the warrants are properly written and issued and executed in a way that the cases can actually proceed through the court system, and they will not end up being dismissed or causing the district attorney's office not to pursue those cases because the proper elements have not been satisfied prior to those cases being prosecuted.
So, so it's well rounded, right? So you've been everything from corrections, SRO, training officer, street officer.
Yes.
So there's not a lot you didn't do, and there's probably not a lot you didn't see. So
Yeah.
so most of the things that you see coming into the court, you've probably arrested somebody for.
This is absolutely correct. And even in that job, I always pride myself on being fair and following procedure. And even in the law enforcement position, I have run into individuals over the years that I actually arrested and some that I sent away to prison. And they have come to me, many of them I didn't even remember. And they've come to me and said, one guy told me in particular, I am happy that you arrested me and sent me away when you did, because it changed my mindset. It made me get more serious about life. And now I own a trucking company. And so those are just some of the stories that individuals have come back to me to say, you treated me fairly, you treated me with respect. And I just want to let you know that even though I didn't think so at the time, what you did for me actually benefited me down the road.
So then you left law enforcement
Mhm.
and you became a lawyer. So tell us about that decision and that growth experience.
Well, actually, at the time I decided to go to law school, I was conflicted as to whether I would go and pursue a PhD in criminal justice and pursue a career as a police chief, or whether I would go to law school. And I decided to go to law school. During the process of making that decision, I started to work on a master's degree in public administration. And when I actually made the firm decision to attend law school, I was only one semester away from completing my master's degree, so I went ahead and completed that degree, and then decided to go on to law school and pursue my law degree. I, in working in law enforcement, I became acquainted with a lot of attorneys, knew a lot of attorneys, were able to speak with them and get their opinion on certain things and how they felt about their choice to attend law school. And I felt like that would be the route for me, because not only could I improve and increase my own education, but I would be able to benefit and help others.
Tell us about your education, where you went to school and all that.
All right. I attended for undergraduate, I attended Savannah State University. My master's degree is from Georgia Southern University, and my law degree I obtained from Nova Southeastern University.
Cool. So then when you've got those, and then when were you accepted to the bar?
In 1996, I believe it was October of 1996.
So you've been a practicing attorney going on 30 years.
That is correct. Yes. And I've
A-
practiced every level of the court, from the local courts to the state courts to the federal courts, and I've even argued a case before the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit.
So, and then, so with that, you went, and what kind of law have you practiced? So how well rounded is that? What, what kind of clients have you served?
When I started out, I had a general practice. I practiced everything from family law to civil law to criminal law. And then I also practiced probate law, which I've developed a love for. I continued to practice in all of those areas through about the first 10, 15 years of my practice. And then I started to taper it down some. Right around the 20-year mark is when I became the probate judge. So I haven't been actively practicing since then. However, since 2024, I became a certified mediator in 2006. And so since 2024, in addition to continuing to serve in other judicial positions, I've also served as a mediator.
So, so you did that, and then once you started, practicing law, did the mediation, and then you decided to run for a judgeship at some point.
That is correct. As a matter of fact, when I initially ran for probate judge, I was encouraged by several members of the bar who had practiced in this area and felt that there was a need for a change. And they actually, when they found out that I lived out here, they encouraged me to run for probate judge. And after thinking about it and praying about it and just back and forth with that, I decided that I did have the experience and the education to run for that position. And I decided to run for the probate judge in 2016.
Oh, so and I remember that race, and you ran against an incumbent who actually was part of the slate of 8 in 2012.
Yeah.
And you actually, if I'm not mistaken, you went to a runoff in that and won a runoff.
That is correct. There were 4 candidates, and myself and the incumbent ended up in a runoff.
And at that time, if I remember correctly, you won the runoff soundly.
That is correct. That is correct. Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, I think you served that term, then you ran for re-election, and then got the opportunity to do another judgeship. Is that correct?
That is correct. After I ran for a re-election in 2020, in 2021, I was appointed by the governor to the state court judge position in Rockdale County, and I served there from 2021 until 2024.
And then after that, you let me think. So you served there from then, and then you stepped down from that position, correct?
That is correct.
And you did run for Superior Court judge.
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
And that was a close race, but not successful.
That is correct. I wasn't successful in that one. That's correct.
And then I think in the interim, this is where you get some of this other experience as a different kind of judge, is you started doing that part-time judging, right?
That is correct. Absolutely.
So tell us about, I find this fascinating. So why don't you tell us how you fell into that? And then I think you ended up like sort of a permanent part-time gig here for some reason. Tell us about what happened.
That's an interesting story. A good friend of mine, good colleague, miss him dearly, Judge Ronald Ramsey Sr., was a part of the state court bench over in DeKalb County. They were looking for pro-hack or part-time judges to come in and fill in when other judges needed to be out or couldn't be there. And so they reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in doing that. I actually accepted the invitation, was appointed to the bench in DeKalb County, and started to serve for various judges over there. In the process, Judge Ramsey became ill. Didn't realize how ill he was at the time, but this was around July of 2024. I started to serve over there, and I started to serve in his courtroom more and more. Around February of 2025, his health declined, and he asked me if I would just kind of commit to his court until he could figure out what was really going on with him. I agreed to do that. And since February of 2025 up until this very date, I have been serving as a full-time judge in his courtroom. Unfortunately, Judge Ramsey passed away in September of 2025. And they asked me at that point if I would just commit to remaining in his courtroom until there was an appointment to replace him.
And if a lot of people don't remember, Judge Ramsey was actually state senator for Rockdale County for a while.
That is correct. You're absolutely
until 2014. We had a special election here in Rockdale County. Now Chairman Vaness won that special election, served for a year, and then now Senator Tanya Anderson actually won that election in 2016 and has been our state senator since then. But that's just a little bit of history for people that if they don't know, Judge Ramsey was at one time our state senator.
That is correct. He was.
Mm-hmm. So we get to there. We get to where you're now serving there in that position. Now you're still serving there?
I'm still serving there, yes. And I'm also still serving as a municipal court judge over in the city of Lithonia.
So you're doing double duties.
Doing double duty and continuing to do mediations. So I'm still doing quite a bit.
So you're a busy guy.
I am.
and you were, and I knew you were busy. So I knew you were doing all this all the time and everything. Yes. So Judge, let me ask you, how do you feel that everything that you've done has really prepared you to take this position if you're elected?
Well, I believe that having served at 3 different levels of the court, practiced the law for 20 years prior to becoming a judge, and started serving as a mediator has all prepared me to be a Superior Court judge and a judge at any level for that matter. Most judges that are coming in fact, every judge that has ever been appointed or elected as a Superior Court judge was a new judge and had to go through new judges training and other various training classes and seek guidance from other more experienced Superior Court judges. I believe that the many years of experience and various experiences that I've had has prepared me to serve as Superior Court judge. And while there may be some small adjustments or small issues that I have to address, I believe that I can go in on day one, sit on the bench in Superior Court. I have selected juries. I have completed jury selection processes, and I have polled juries. I have held trials on all types of civil cases, from medical malpractice to vehicular homicide. I have also presided over civil cases. And so I believe that I'm prepared to go in on day one, sit on the bench in the Superior Court, and run that court without much of an adjustment.
And that's very important, right? Because, I think people feel comfortable when they elect somebody that they feel can come right in and do the job. And, I had this conversation with somebody the other day, and I told him election is nothing more than a long, drawn out job interview.
Exactly.
And it's like you have to prove to people through an election process that you can actually do the job with them never seeing you do the job and being asked all kinds of questions. And, and a campaign is crazy and just all that. So do you find it to be a very unusual job process, running for an election, asking people to vote for you to get a job?
I do, and quite honestly, when I initially ran for probate judge back in 2016, I was really only focused on the fact that I was qualified to do the job. I didn't think about the rest of the process that you had to go through with campaigning and convincing the public that you can do the job. I was only focused on, I know that I can do this job and I have the experience to do it well. And after I actually declared for the election and got into the race, I was like, this is a bit different than what I've experienced in my life, but I don't regret it. You know, I believe that the individuals should be curious to know who they're voting for, that they should check out the qualifications. And it shouldn't just be about experience. It should be about the type of experience that an individual has had, along with the number of years of experience that people have had. So I believe in voters being informed and making decisions based on information and research that they've done, and not just simply accepting what someone says.
And that's important, right? But because that's one of the things that that I've talked about as far as when we're going to make the decision about the hiring a school superintendent. What I've said is, think people can turn all the fancy resumes they want in. I'm going to ask some serious questions during that interview process,
Absolutely.
And I want to see tangible evidence of the things they've said they've done. And then that's what with you, Judge, you can provide that tangible evidence of that experience, right?
Absolutely.
Not just because you want to get experience on the bench and serve on the bench, and you know what I mean? You've served on a bench, right? So you've got that experience, and you've got that trial lawyer experience, right? Which I've heard other candidates talk about, and they feel that being a trial lawyer during your legal career is so important for someone sitting on that bench to have tried before judges, so that you understand this process inside and out, and can anticipate things because you were on that other side.
Absolutely. I actually was a bit flattered some years ago when I tried a case in federal court, and after the case was over, I was out in front of the courthouse, and the jurors who was on that case came out, and one lady came over to me and asked me if I had a card, and I said, well, yes, ma'am, I do. And she said, well, I just want your card, because if I ever need an attorney, I want to make sure that I can call you. So I was flattered that a juror would feel that way, and it made me feel like I must have done a decent job.
I hear you. Now, Judge, one thing I've heard you guys talk about, and I have found very interesting, and that's these courts that you guys do, these specialty courts for like veterans, and they're accountability courts.
Yes.
Is that the correct terminology?
That's
correct.
Why
don't you tell people a little bit about accountability courts, why they're important, and the need for, from what I've heard you guys talk about the last few weeks here in y'all's forums, is the need for even expansion into additional accountability courts.
Accountability courts are very important because you have individuals that have special needs that, even though they may have committed a criminal offense, it's not always just their intent to do so. A lot of times it's driven by drug addiction, alcohol addiction. Sometimes veterans, we have issues with veterans who have suffer from PTSD and other conditions. And so many times their criminal activities that actually result of whatever the addiction or disability is they may be suffering from. And so what an accountability court does, it provides them an opportunity to not only resolve their case, but to receive treatment for whatever their disability or condition may be that led to their criminal behavior. Most of the time it involves counseling, it involves a drug or alcohol testing, It involves them attending court sessions at least once or twice a month. And there's very strict criteria that they have to follow in order to successfully complete the program. As chief state court judge, I presided over the DUI accountability court, and we were actually selected as a model court for the DUI courts around the state to follow. And so I was very proud of that. I recently run into two different graduates from that program. One, she has gone on to finish her nursing degree, and another one, he introduced me to his wife and his newborn baby and told me how appreciative he was of the court, that it helped get his life on track. And now he's a father, he's a husband, and he's leading a solid life. I attempted to establish a veterans court back in 2020 and was told that there was not a need for one at the time. There was no data being kept on the number of individuals that the court served who are veterans at that time. And so I went out and did my own research, and I found out that at that time there was about 6,200 veterans in Rockdale County, and felt that there was a need. But because I met with some objections to it, I started town hall meetings for our veterans and brought the commander from the Georgia Department of Veteran Services out to speak with them. I brought another individual from Over Benefits out to speak with them, because I met with the veterans to find out what was important to them. And I wanted to address the issues that were important to them. So again, I feel that the accountability courts are important. They definitely can help those individuals who do not have an extensive criminal record and do not, and we can show that they actually have a disability or an addiction that kind of led them to their behavior.
So I mean, so those are very important things to set up and to do, especially when there are circumstances beyond the norm that cause these things. And a lot of these things are related to mental health issues. Would you say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mental health issues, substance abuse, addictions.
We had several individuals that came through the DUI court that, in addition to having alcohol issues, they also had mental health issues, and we were able to deal with those issues as well through the court.
So, also, I mean, I think when we look at, excuse me, people with the mental health issues, and when they have the substance problems, we see that a lot of this is them self-medicating those issues, and when they've already got depression and these mental issues, and then self-medicating with alcohol and drugs, it intensifies this and puts their lives at danger. Have you seen this personally?
Absolutely. And many people, even some that came into the court, when they initially came in, you could tell it was simply to avoid jail time. They weren't serious about trying to really deal with their addiction and get the help that we were offering. But fortunately, over time, and after they attended the classes and saw that we were really trying to help them, the majority of them would come around and buy into the program and receive the help that they needed.
So, and when they would do that, you would actually see the results.
That is correct. Absolutely. And matter of fact, the program only had, the reason we were accepted or chosen as a model court is because we only had a 6% recidivism rate, meaning that individuals who graduated from that program were only 6% likely to repeat the same type of offense or behavior.
So once they start going into these programs, we actually start seeing results. We see that they matter and they make a difference.
That is correct. Absolutely.
So Judge, you've been in a couple of forums here recently, and any of the questions that were asked in that forum, did it stick out to you that you would actually like to tell the people here what the question was, and give that answer on the show?
I would just say that there was a discrepancy about when the DUI court was awarded the model court classification, and that did occur. I was sworn in as a state court judge in March 1st of 2021. The time span for the model court classification was 2021 to 2024. There was a newsletter issued by the Council of Accountability Court Judges that acknowledged that model court status that came out in April of 2023. And in the newsletter, it stated that I had presided over the court for 2 years at the time this status was awarded. And so there seemed to be some discrepancy about when the status was actually given to the court as a model court. And I did want to clear that up.
Okay. So you were able to clear that up and discuss that and get that timeline solidified, right?
That is correct.
Because there was some overlap between, there was another judge and you taking that seat and all that. So
correct.
I get you.
Yeah, and as I said, I was sworn in on March 1st of 2021. So I was there for 3/4 of the year managing this court. And again, this status was not put out by the Council of Accountability Court Judges until April of 2023.
Gotcha. So when, if you're elected to this position, what are some major changes that you think this court needs to undergo that you want to do and make the modifications?
Well, I believe that the court, number one, should be transparent. It should be open to ensure that individuals have access to the court with an opportunity to be heard, that they receive fair treatment while maintaining the integrity and efficiency of the court, and also that we educate our citizens, on the processes and procedures of the court. Many individuals come into the court and they're coming to court for the first time. They have no idea what's actually going on, what the processes and procedures are. Many individuals come in and they accept pleas because the only thing that they're being told is, if you accept this plea, there's no jail time. Basically, you get to go home tonight, and that's all they're focusing on. I would like to have town hall type meetings to explain to individuals what the processes and procedures are in the court, what you can expect when you come into court. As judges, we can't give legal advice, but we can explain processes and procedures. And just to give an example, when individuals come before me as a judge and they've been told, this is the plea that we're offering you, and again, the only thing they're focusing on is I can get out of here today, there's a series of questions that we have to ask them. And I go through those questions and ask these individuals, do you really understand what's going on here? And if I get the idea or they don't believe that they really understand the plea that they're accepting, then I ask them to step back, speak to the prosecutor again, speak to the public defender or their attorney again, and get a clear understanding of what's going on. Because this plea that they are accepting here today as a quick fix can down the road cause them some serious problems in terms of, now you've got a criminal record. You may be denied admission to a college. You may be denied a lease to an apartment. There are many implications or ramifications for down the road that you can suffer if you accept this plea today. So I believe that we have to better educate our citizens and the individuals that come before us to understand the processes and procedures that they will be dealing with in court. Um, Again, I believe every individual that comes before the court should be able to be heard and receive a fair hearing. There shouldn't be any biases or preconceived ideas about the case before you hear the evidence and the facts. And you have to have the patience to sit and listen to the evidence and the facts so that you make a decision that you know will be in line with the law.
I get you. So we'll see. Uh, what you feel about the court and and the changes that need to be made. Uh, how fast does it take to make changes in a court?
Well, the changes are not made overnight. And in Rockdale County, the chief judge position is determined by the seniority of the Superior Court judge that is serving. And so going in, I would be the associate judge. I would not be the chief judge. And I would have to work with the chief judge to try and get these changes made. I would certainly propose every change that I have stated here, and hopefully I would have the cooperation of the chief judge in order to work to make these changes happen. I believe that town hall meetings are simple. It's something that can be set up rather quickly. And in regards to any other changes and procedures to the court process, we would have to. There are certain channels and processes we would have to go through to get them in place. But I believe they could be done with not much effort.
Yeah, I mean that's going and that's all you can expect of anyone to do is go through something, not try to, I guess, shake things up and make it confusing. Would that be correct?
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Got you. So Judge, I think being a judge is a very hard job. I mean, I look at it this way, right? You go in that courtroom, there's a good chance when you do your job, nobody on either side is going to be happy. And the best case scenario is one side's going to be happy and the other's not. And there's a very good likelihood nobody's going to be happy. Do you see that a lot of times?
Absolutely. And that's why, in many jurisdictions, they have mandatory mediation so that the parties are required to go to mediation and try and see if they can resolve the case before coming to a trial or coming before the judge to make that decision so that they can work out a resolution that involves compromise on both sides. But for the most part, when you come into a courtroom, you don't know what the outcome is going to be. Everyone feels that they have the law on their side, but in the end, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. My goal has always been that when the parties walk away from my courtroom, I want them to say that the judge was fair. He gave me an opportunity to present my case, and he made a decision that was consistent with the law. And even if it's not in their favor, they can walk away feeling like they had an opportunity to be heard.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I totally understand. I mean, you've got to really walk a thin line, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
So, I mean, and I don't think a lot of people realize, because what you do or anybody that sits on that bench, you impact people's lives.
Absolutely.
It's not just what happens right then. It's what happens there will likely impact someone's life moving forward, correct?
That is correct. And I was speaking to a group the other night, and I was saying to them that the individuals that I spoke about earlier from the accountability court that approached me to tell me how they appreciated the program. Anytime I'm out and I hear someone say, "Are you a judge?" or "Are you the judge?" or "You look like the judge," or they call my name, I don't know whether I should be prepared to run or to fight. But fortunately, because I have prided myself on being a fair judge, I have not had a situation where, there was any type of threatening situation that I've been confronted with.
Oh, I get that, uh, so yeah, got to be cautious of your surroundings, and and that's one of the things with the new courthouse that we're seeing erected in Old Town. Hopefully, I think the judiciary, I think the judges are all being moved to the new facility, so there should be heightened security and different. That should be taking care of the issues there. I hope that works there. But I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens at the end of the day with that. I guess for security reasons, you don't want to really show anybody the blueprint. You know what I mean? So my hope is that all concerns that were previously had will be addressed with this construction.
I sincerely hope so. They're friends of mine, colleagues of mine that are judges in other jurisdictions. And for many of them, when I would have conversations with them in the past and tell them that we used common entrances with the public, common elevators, common parking areas, and what have you, they couldn't believe that we were, we were operating under those conditions. So I would like to think that the new courthouse would resolve many of those issues.
Yeah, I do too. I'm hoping so, right?
Mhm.
And we'll see how that goes. I mean, Charlotte has a question. Do you think the new courthouse will help with court efficiency?
Again, I would like to think so. I would think that the all of the systems and whether security or record keeping or IT or what have you would be updated to to the new developments that are out there today. And so I would like to think that it would improve efficiency.
I hope so. I hope so too. Judge, I think we've covered most everything I believe we need to cover with this, and I think the folks have got a lot of information. If you can think of anything you would like to cover right now, we can do that before we finish up.
I'd just like to say that I'm not just a judge that sits on the bench. I'm involved in many of the community service activities around. Most of I started the Pearl program, the Protecting Our Elderly and At Risk with Resources for Better Living, and that's protect our seniors. Was also involved in the Veterans Town Hall meetings. I held a seniors health fair in 2023. I'm involved with the Kiwanis Club of Rockdale County. In 2023, I started a scholarship program in honor of my mother who passed away in 2022. And I've awarded 5 scholarships to individuals within the Rockdale County High School system, graduating seniors, that is. I've also participated in career days at the middle and high school level. I'm a former board member of the Boys and Girls Club here in Rockdale, and also Habitat for Humanity, and also the United Way. And so I'm involved in my community. I believe in being fair, just, and consistent with the law. And so, again, I'm not just a judge that sits on the bench. I'm a judge that's out. I'm visible. I do what I need to do for the betterment of my community. And I believe all of those things should be considered.
So yeah, I think I do see one more question I'd like to get addressed. I mean, because it's I don't know, right? So Justin, he's running for judge too, and he's got a question: is what are the current problems with the Rockdale judiciary, and what are your proposed solutions? I mean, I think that's a something good. What everything has issues, right? Yeah. We talk about them in our work all the time. We talk about it, when on the board, what's going on, what we need to correct. What do you think are the issues that are facing the court, and then what is the corrections?
Well, again, I believe that we should uh, have our, our 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 town hall meetings could resolve many of those issues because it would provide the knowledge and understanding of the court system that I believe individuals so desperately need. I also believe that we should do what's necessary to ensure that our citizens believe or we maintain the integrity of the court, and that our citizens feel that we're doing what's necessary to serve them. Earning the trust and respect of the citizens is a top priority, and they must be confident that when they come into the court, that they will be heard, and that any decision that they receive will be uh, in line with the rule of law. I do believe that we can expand our accountability courts if we can if we can obtain the funding to ensure that our courts are not just treating the individual, but also providing assistance for their family members and those who are affected by their addictions or their uh, behaviors that not only affect them but affect the family, their children, their wives, their spouses. And so I believe that we can expand those programs as well. The veterans program, a court that I understand is in the works. I would like to see what the goals are for that, and how that's going to be set up to ensure that these individuals that are suffering from PTSD and other conditions as a result of their being uh, veterans, being in the war, or peacetime injuries, that they receive the treatment that they should receive. And so that's those are some of the things that I think we can do to improve the court. Again, we want our citizens to feel that when they come to court, that they were heard and they had an opportunity to present their case, and that they can even if the this conclusion or the decision that they receive is not 100% of what they were seeking, that they can feel satisfied that it is consistent with the law.
Gotcha. That I can understand that.
Mhm.
Well, Judge, why don't you close this thing out? Tell people one more time, why you're the person they should support, and and uh, and when they can vote for you.
Well, again, I am Clarence Cuthbert Jr. I'm a citizen of Rockdale County. I have been since 2007. And I'm the same Clarence Cuthbert that you entrusted previously as your probate judge and your chief state court judge. And I want to continue to serve this community with experience, integrity, and judicial temperance. Again, you must have the patience to allow individuals to present their case, whether it's a family law case, a criminal case, or a civil case. The individuals should have an opportunity to present their case, present their evidence and the facts, and receive a decision that is just, fair, and consistent with the law. I am asking for your vote because I believe that I am qualified to serve right now as your uh, state court chief state. I'm sorry, chief superior. I'm sorry. I believe that I'm qualified right now to serve as your superior court judge, and with very little adjustment and very little training, and any thing that I've said about my qualifications or my uh, experience, I can support with documentation. I'm not just putting something out there uh, to impress you all. I have the documentation and the credentials to prove anything that I've said. And so again, I am asking for your vote. The election day is May 19th. Early voting starts a week from tomorrow on April 27th, and that runs through May 15th. We have two Saturdays voting, May the 2nd and May the 9th. And on May the 3rd, you can vote on Sunday. And so again, I'm asking you to vote early, and I would appreciate your support.
Well, Judge, I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you just letting the people know everything they need to know and being, transparent as usual. So I appreciate everything you've done. And I appreciate that you've decided to put yourself out there and run for office because it's a challenge, right? As we all know, like I said, it's a long job interview.
Yes.
And it can be tough and it can be challenging. So best of luck, and we wish you success during this job interview process. So
I appreciate you, Larry. I really appreciate you having me on the show.
I do too. And guys, I will have next Sunday. I'm looking over at my calendar. Excuse me. I will have Mr. Justin Kinney coming on the show next week, who is running for state court judge. And then the next day, that following Monday, Melissa Mims will be on the show. So we've got, actually, as we go into this schedule, we're going to get packed, right? And next week I'll talk to you about what's coming on up in May, because I've got a couple of other people to schedule for May, and I think we'll have Sundays and Mondays back to back several times in May. So we'll talk about May's schedule after next weekend schedule. So, Judge, thanks again for coming on. Thanks everybody for coming on here and watching the show. Very, very well attended show tonight. A nice crowd. That means we're going to get a whole lot of secondary views. Right now we got like 41 live, and it'll be more than that because my counter will tell me, because people have came and gone, right? It'll let me know how many people actually came on the live show at some point. But when we get this kind of number, usually by midday tomorrow, you'll have over 1,000 views of the show. So that's good. I mean, that's good for your campaign, and it's good for the citizens of Rockdale County being able to have a resource like this where these candidates can come on and let people share their vision. So, Judge, thank you. And if you want to hold on, I'll click out of here. And again, thank you, everybody. And we will see you next Sunday with Justin Kinney coming on the show. And it'll be at 8 p.m., Facebook and YouTube. Speak Your Mind with host Larry Cox.